Right now, on to the point.
Excellent people. Yeah, I love them.
The deadly San Francisco Bay boat accident, the Stockton connection, and the Sutter County Reserve deputy that died. Plus outrage over California's new parole system changes. Why opponents say they could allow a way out for people sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. An ABC 10 investigation. Why the DMV believes there was possible cheating on written driving tests. Who's being asked to retake theirs. And the time change debate. Why what the U.S. House just passed hasn't worked before. Tonight, the search continues for 3 people missing in the San Francisco Bay after yesterday's deadly boat accident. Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. Tonight, we now know that boat was registered to a man in Stockton. Officials say 20 family members and friends were on that boat when it capsized in the bay. Take a look at this. This is the last known path of the 50-foot cabin cruiser named Valere. According to marinetraffic.com, it left Angel Island before capsizing between Alcatraz and the Golden Gate Bridge Tuesday around 3:30 in the afternoon. Now, this is new video of the search today. Nearly a dozen boats have been deployed with swimmers and scuba divers. Helicopters are also searching for the missing from above. As we've been reporting, 16 people were safely brought to shore. Tonight, they are thanking others who were there in the water, who saw what was happening and jumped in to help.
Those Good Samaritans called this distress case in initially, made us aware of it, and then rescued people from the water. You all saved lives. Your actions saved lives.
This is new video from the water showing those moments the boat was sinking. People describe throwing weights at the boat to try to break its windows and get people out. We can now say the one confirmed death is 79-year-old retired Reserve Deputy Clifford Boysa. He served the Sutter County Sheriff's Office for almost 15 years. Tonight, the Sutter County Sheriff's Office says Sheriff Brandon Barnes and the members of the Sutter County Sheriff's Office extend their heartfelt condolences to the Boysa family, as well as to the families and loved ones that were involved in this tragic incident. And as we mentioned, the boat is owned by a man in Stockton, and the family has connections to the Stockton Yacht Club. ABC 10's Gabriel Porras has more from Stockton tonight.
Yeah, that's crazy that happened.
After tragedy on the waters 80 miles west, by Wednesday, waves of shock had rolled into Stockton.
It looks like multiple people are in the water, 2 to 3 unconscious. People are trapped in the boat.
Officials believe it happened during a memorial service. 20 passengers, mostly family and friends, aboard the 3-story, 50-foot Valere as she capsized in the San Francisco Bay Tuesday. Officials said the boat was home ported in Stockton. Coast Guard records identified the owners as John and Miriam Boysa.
Wow.
Several members of the Stockton Yacht Club say the Boysa family are members.
For events, coming here for dinner and all events. That's how I met the couple, you know. Oh, excellent people. Yeah, I love them.
It's my neighbor and stuff, so I was super surprised.
Noah Bonilla lives in the family's neighborhood. A note on their door asks for privacy, reading in part, quote, "We and several families have suffered a horrific loss. We appreciate the outpouring of condolences and prayers."
I found out yesterday, and it was super crazy. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah. From the bay to the valley, the waves of shock and grief continue to spread.
I feel very sorry for his wife, and I mean for the whole family, of course.
It's horrible about the death, and, I hope that everyone's recovering safely, mentally and physically, and, they can move on from this.
As this tragedy shocks so many across the region, we asked Stockton Congressman Josh Harder for his thoughts. While he sends his condolences, he's also calling for a full investigation.
We need a full investigation into why this happened. Was it just, really large waves, or was there something going on with the boat and what was happening on it? And to try to make sure that tragedies like this don't happen again.
We have been following this story from the very beginning. You can stay up to date on the search and also watch the latest news conference on our free ABC 10 TV streaming app. Tonight, a lawsuit is being filed over new California Board of Parole regulations. Opponents of the changes say that it could make certain offenders sentenced to life without parole eligible for a way out. So the changes take effect in October. Some could go through a process to either be resentenced by the courts or get clemency from the governor. The Board of Parole implemented this and not the legislature or California voters. Opponents say that exceeds the board's authority.
Life without the possibility of parole should mean exactly that.
She deserved a lifetime. Our family has been sentenced with a lifetime without her.
The governor's office says state law has long given the Board of Parole the authority to recommend offenders for resentencing and clemency, including those sentenced to life without parole, people sentenced to death, registered sex offenders, and charged with other violent categories would be excluded. Tonight, as Congress works to pass a bill that would make daylight saving time permanent, those for and against the change, they're now speaking out. The Sunshine Protection Act passed the House and is now on the way to the Senate. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen joins us to explain.
Well, Alex, it's either you want more daylight in the morning or the evening, and it has some lawmakers here in California divided on what's best, daylight saving time or standard.
Daylight savings is just a relic of the past. It's a relic of the industrial era. It doesn't really match our modern economy.
It's time we move past this habit we have of having to change our clocks twice a year.
Both Congressmen Josh Harder and Kevin Kiley voted for the Sunshine Protection Act. If passed and made into law, daylight saving time would be the new permanent standard time. But for states like California, winter months could lead to darker mornings.
There certainly will be some challenges in more northern states where those sunrises tend to come a little bit later. But ultimately for California, this is going to be ultimately a huge boon, and not just for those folks that are going to enjoy that extra hour of sunlight during the evenings, but it's going to come at a relatively low cost to commuters and parents dropping their kids off.
The bill passed the House with large bipartisan support, but State Senator Roger Nilo believes Congress will regret passing this legislation. He says the United States attempted this once before in the 1970s, and the country hated it.
It was believed to be an energy-saving measure, which has been debunked since. But that act went into effect in January of '72, I think, and people immediately started complaining about it. And it was established to take place for 2 years. It was abandoned before that calendar year was over.
Nilo believes standard time that's used in Arizona and Hawaii is better than daylight saving for safety and health. He argues darker mornings are not safe for commuting to work or school.
Standard time is much better for our health. It matches our circadian rhythms much better. And that, for all of those reasons, it slaves me why it was such a majority in the House to pass it.
And independent Congressman Kevin Kiley says he probably would have supported this bill even if standard time was proposed, and says there are good arguments for both. The bill still has to pass the Senate before heading to the president's desk to be signed into law. Alex.
All right, Jeannie, thank you so much. And I do want to go ahead and bring in meteorologist Brendan Minchef for a closer look at what all this could really look like, especially for the sunrise and those darker mornings that Roger Nilo was just talking about, because this is one of the big things that, people really have an issue about. Yeah.
And this is why it was so unpopular, hated, in 1974. I mean, take a look at some of these numbers here. So what we're looking at are the latest winter sunrise times and the earliest winter sunset times. Now, keep in mind, these do not happen on the same day. Again, not the same day, but it does show you the extremes of remaining on permanent daylight time. So, for instance, here in Sacramento, sunrise would be at 8:23 in the morning and sunset at 5:44. But then you look up north at Seattle, sunrise at almost 9 o'clock. Bozeman, Montana, sunrise would be after 9 o'clock in the morning. Minneapolis would be at about 9 o'clock as well, and it would be worse for areas that are right along the western edge of a time zone and on the northern side of the country. So, yeah, it would be some very, very late sunrises.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. And of course, Brendan's going to have your full weather coming up after the break. But also coming up a little bit later in our show, an ABC 10 investigation, why the DMV believes there was possible cheating on written driving tests, and the thousands that are now being told they have to retake theirs. Plus, CAL FIRE heading out to Oregon on the latest major firefight. But first, another headlines tonight. A Sacramento County deputy shot and killed a man while he was actively stabbing a mother and her daughter in their garage multiple times. Investigators say the man first showed up at a Starbucks at Elkhorn Boulevard and Diablo Drive, and employees were able to barricade the door. The man then went to a nearby home and attacked the family inside. The two women are described to be in stable but very serious condition. A 21-year-old semi-truck driver from Yuba City was sentenced to 4 years and 8 months months in prison for causing a deadly 8-vehicle crash in Southern California last year. 3 people died and others were hurt. Homeland Security says the driver, Jashanpreet Singh, entered the country illegally from India and was able to obtain a commercial driver's license before federal rules changed. According to the LA Times, Singh pled guilty to 3 counts of vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence. And Stockton police confirm at least 2 city shelter dogs were found in a mass grave at a Humboldt County rescue. The pit bulls were transferred there in March. The rescue is under investigation for animal cruelty, fraud, and conspiracy. As hundreds of dogs remain missing, Stockton says they have received at least 4 of their dogs back. New tonight, Cal Fire firefighters are heading to Oregon to help battle a growing wildfire north of Medford. The East Evans Creek fire exploded in size overnight. The governor's office says that the firefighters will fill critical leadership positions in Oregon to help get this fire under control. And I do want to hand things off to meteorologist Brendan Minchef once again to look at our forecast here locally. Brendan.
Yeah, it's been a very hot couple of days, the hottest days of the year so far. We were once again 104 degrees in Sacramento this afternoon, 105 in Stockton, 104 in Modesto, some low 80s in the high country, and yesterday and today, 104 degrees, warmest days of the year so far. But we've only had 4 days in the triple digits to this point, and I don't have any more triple digits in the immediate forecast. 98 in Sacramento right now, 98 in Stockton, 101 in Modesto, 81 in Truckee, and 77 in Tahoe. A much nicer Delta breeze this evening compared to what we saw yesterday, although that is leading to some fire concerns, especially down towards Interstate 580, the Altamont Pass, where we're seeing some pretty gusty winds. 98 right now in the capital city. That's 5 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago, again, because of that onshore wind, which we really did not have much of yesterday. Still in the 90s at the top of the hour, then 80s as we work in towards 9, 10 p.m., 70s as we go through midnight and into the overnight. Starting off in those low to mid 60s in the valley. It'll be warm, it'll be breezy, but not quite as warm in the morning as what we've had the last couple of days. 95 in Sacramento tomorrow, 95 in Stockton, 96 in Modesto, still in the upper 90s and low hundreds across the Sacramento Valley. 90s in the foothills, 80s in the high country, still hot, but not as hot as where we've been. Like I said, we've got some strong winds tonight. That's going to continue, especially down in parts of San Joaquin County, out towards the Delta and out towards the passes of 580, where we're going to see those gusty winds tonight and tomorrow afternoon, which is why we do have some PG&E public safety power shutoffs in that area. High pressure is going to scoot down south and a little bit west as we head in towards the weekend, but not as close to California as it was earlier in the week. So we're not going to get as much monsoonal moisture coming back this weekend, but we're still going to get some. So we'll see an increase in cloud coverage once again as we head towards the weekend, but temperatures, again, much more seasonal. No more triple digits for the foreseeable future. We stay in the 90s. Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Right after the break, thousands of California drivers are being told to retake their written test. In an ABC 10 investigation, the state lawmaker is now speaking out. Welcome back in. Let's get into our latest ABC 10 investigation. Thousands of California drivers are being told they have to retake their DMV knowledge test or risk losing their driver's license. The DMV said that it found anomalies in thousands of test results that may indicate instances of cheating. ABC 10 investigative reporter Adrian Thomas joins us with what we've learned so far.
Well, Alex, for weeks, we've been asking the DMV what these anomalies were, and today we got some answers, but there are still a lot of questions. The DMV says about 11,000 drivers must retake the knowledge test. Many of those drivers say they passed their test, got their licenses months ago, and are now being told to take the test all over again. When David Specht moved from Chicago to Sacramento late last year, he passed his DMV knowledge test, got his California driver license, and thought he was done. But 6 months later, that changed. David says he received this letter saying the DMV found irregularities in his knowledge test results. Unless he passed the test again within 30 days, his license would be canceled.
When I first got the letter, I thought maybe because I had taken the test so quickly, it was flagged, and then the more I thought about it, I just found it odd. So I Googled some of the language from the letter, and I stumbled upon numerous Reddit threads and Facebook posts.
We connected with some people on those same social media pages, and they shared their DMV letters with us. All were identical copies of David's letter, saying the DMV had identified irregularities in the knowledge test results, leading to the license cancellation notices being mailed out.
Hey, can you hear me?
We met people from across the state, many of whom are newer residents getting their California license for the first time, like Michelle Radke in the Bay Area.
And getting this letter, it almost felt like I was being punished or like I broke a rule that I didn't know what happened.
And Mike Stover in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction was I thought it was a scam at first because, again, I took my driver's test back in December of last year. So it's been 6 months.
We reached out to the DMV to confirm the number of cancellation notices they sent out and what specific irregularities were identified in the knowledge test results and how the DMV identified them. An agency spokesperson said in part, quote, "The California DMV has identified irregularities in certain driver knowledge test results that may indicate instances of cheating. Through our routine internal monitoring, we reviewed multiple data points and found patterns suggesting that some individuals may have attempted to circumvent the testing process using various cheating methods. As part of this ongoing review, the DMV notified approximately 11,000 individuals that they must return to a DMV office and retake their knowledge test within 30 days. Individuals who do not complete and pass the retest will have their driver's license canceled."
We're going to ask if there's anyone else in the committee room.
With the DMV taking weeks before admitting the testing result anomalies were tied to possible cheating, we took our questions to the California Senate Transportation Committee, which oversees the agency. Committee Chair Senator Dave Cortese, a Democrat representing Santa Clara County, says he was disappointed but not surprised when we brought this latest issue with the California DMV to him.
Is it a problem that the DMV is not being transparent about what exactly the anomalies are and what they used to identify them?
It is a problem that the DMV is not being transparent. It tends to be a very opaque organization. We have trouble getting data. Most legislators who run bills here in the Capitol will tell you it's very difficult to get basic data that they'd like to have. It's hard to figure out why the DMV has this culture of keeping their cards so close to the vest. They're one of the most public agencies in every other regard.
While we were investigating this story, Cortese and his team sent a letter to the DMV director asking many of the same questions we did. What exactly were the testing anomalies, and what tool or method did the DMV use to identify them? Cortese says the DMV's response will help determine whether lawmakers need to take further action.
Where are they spending their money? Are they spending their money on algorithms and AI? Is this stuff working? Is their IT system working? Those are all questions that we can address.
This DMV testing issue has gotten bipartisan attention. Cortese's Senate colleague, Senator Tony Strickland, a Republican and vice chair of the Transportation Committee, also sent his own letter to the DMV director demanding transparency.
We should have more answers and describe exactly why they have to take the test again. And is this unacceptable to be vague? Well, we need to hold them accountable just like every other agency. And if they don't move forward and they don't cooperate with the legislators, then we need to look at other avenues to, talk about funding.
But for everyday drivers like David Specht, they're left wondering whether the agency got it right.
First off, I don't hold it against the state of California or even the frontline workers at the DMV. I do think if this is the system that they have implemented, and this is how the system works, then I hate to break it to them, but the system is broken.
Now, many of the drivers we spoke with already have retaken or are scheduled to retake their knowledge test. The DMV is waiving the test fee for those who received these notices. Meanwhile, we filed public records requests seeking documents that could hopefully help explain in more detail how the DMV's internal monitoring of those knowledge tests led to those 11,000 notices being sent out. The DMV stresses this was in no way a technical issue or involvement of artificial intelligence. Alex?
All right, Adrian, thank you so much. Right after the break, gas prices are rising again amid tensions in Iran. What's changed in just the past week? Tonight, as tensions rise in Iran with new airstrikes today, people are once again keeping an eye on gas prices. In addition to new strikes, the U.S. is blocking ships from going to and from Iranian ports. The fighting is driving up oil and gas prices once again. According to AAA, national diesel prices are up about 17 cents a gallon since last week. A regular gallon of gas is up about 9 cents from a week ago. And also a reminder that President Trump will address the nation tomorrow evening. The address is expected to happen at 6 p.m. You can watch it right here on ABC 10, and we will have more, of course, coming up onto the point at 6:30 right after he gets done speaking. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. If you have something you think we should be looking into, you already know you can send us an email to thepoint@abc10.com. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Have a great night.